Welcome to the Weekly Pull. I'm Spider-Man, welcoming you to the Weekly Pull with Comics Historian, Marvel Explained, and Comics Reviews. Now I'm gonna go cry about losing Mary Jane.
What is that behind him? Is that Venom?
I don't know. It's
just...
That's the Game of Thrones. It's the Game of
I know, really. It's like... Or Rob can choose the intro. Welcome to the Weekly Pull. I'm Batman.
Yeah, and somehow magically was able to defeat Nick Fury.
Yep, because I'm awesome.
Nobody knows
I
how.
can debate better.
Nobody knows how he could beat Nick Fury, but he was able to.
So, welcome to the Weekly Pull. This is our podcast that we run every week. As usual, if you want to see our versus debate, it happens over in Comic Story. And before this week was Mixel-Pitalik versus Mad Jim Jaspers. Or, as Rob was saying, Bish Sticks versus Mad Jim Jaspers.
Because I can't pronounce that name. I'm not going to try. All right, so for this podcast, we actually don't really have any major topics. I've been shining Benny and Dave on for the last...
No, Robert Downey Jr. is leaving Marvel. My people think that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's true.
We lost him again.
We lost Dave again? Oh my God, Dave.
I can't come up with any more intros. We're just Spider-Man 1 again. Screw it.
Dave, you're killing me.
That wasn't me this time.
It was. You disconnected. Regardless of it being your fault or not.
You froze up. Yeah, dude, you froze up, man.
But my internet was fine.
Not as far as the other two people. Majority rules, man.
Yep.
Majority rules.
There's three of us here, and if two of us are stayed in the call, then you'll lose.
Like everybody watching this video is going to be like, yeah, Dave, it's your fault.
Yep.
And we're going to be
Matter of
like,
fact, everyone, if you agree with us, in the comments down below, just, Dave, it's your fault.
Yeah, just say, thanks a lot, Dave.
Even if you don't normally leave a comment, just leave that comment.
Yeah, just say, damn it, Dave. And just leave a comment that says, damn it, Dave.
So anyway, anybody who just watched our Versus match is aware of the fact that Rob claims that Robert Downey Jr. is leaving Marvel.
Mm-hmm. And I've been shining everybody on. That's not happening. I felt like screwing with people. As far as I know, to the best of my knowledge, Robert Downey Jr. is not leaving Marvel Studios. And
you know what's going to be funny? You're saying that now, but like as soon as this goes live, they're going to announce it.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. quits. But
so we're going to be wrong twice.
Do what?
We're going to be wrong twice.
We are going to be wrong twice. But that kind of lets us segue into our topic, because for the most part, we're just kind of shooting from the hip. You know, for the last couple episodes, we've had kind of like this somewhat regimented, like discussion. Like, we want to talk about like these three things. Now, we sidetrack like crazy, and it never usually works out that way. So we figure, we're just going to kind of shoot from the hip and kind of talk about what seems interesting at the moment. I know Benny's going to talk about some weekly comics and whether or not they're worth, buying, whether or not it's a good idea to really invest in that. And I actually want to talk about Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, because we've kind of like skirted around that. Like, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but haven't gotten into like a real discussion of like, is he really good as Iron Man? Like, is he really like a good Tony Stark? Which I think he is. And
I do want to state, we're not going away from the topic style of the podcast, but there isn't always big topics every week in comic news. Mm-hmm. So we need to have some just general discussions too, and that's what this week is all about. So
yeah, definitely. So, all right, so Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. So
amazing. Move on.
All right, but we've talked about this. All right, Tony Stark in the comics is not this interesting.
Right.
He's not nearly as interesting.
He's not. Oh my God.
So
in Infinity, he was interesting because he was a bad guy. I wanted him, like, I didn't touch on that on my story, but he's the one that's like, no, we don't care about you losing your families. We have to go stop this other issue. Everyone stop giving a shit. And they're like, oh yeah, we just lost Atlantis, Tony. He's like, oh yeah, how'd that work out for you, Namor? It's gone? All right, we gotta go.
Yeah, and then Namor launched a strike against like everybody else on Earth. So
yeah,
I mean, I like Robert Downey Jr. as a character, and here's my question. This is probably the biggest question that I have regarding Robert Downey Jr. in Marvel. Are they going to touch on Tony Stark's alcoholism? Because I know that like Robert Downey Jr. has some past demons.
They were supposed to. That was the plot of Iron Man 2, and it got glanced over because Disney had bought out and they were going for a more family-friendly appearance.
Oh, I didn't know they were supposed to do that.
That was the plot of the second movie.
Avengers 2, if Iron Man's own creation turns on him, that could be a trigger.
No, I was actually reading about this. The alcoholism thing was supposed to be the plot for the second one, but that was also right around.
Froze up.
with another interesting picture.
Really?
It's fine. You're putting your finger in your
Waited
mouth
too long.
like you're hinting at every one of our viewers. Hey guys.
Hello, subscriber.
That's exactly where it froze.
Oh, maybe it didn't freeze.
Nope.
Maybe
No,
you
he's
were- maybe
moving
you were
again. It
just
did
sitting
freeze.
perfect-
You're not crazy. It was
Maybe
frozen.
you were just sitting perfectly still, Dave.
You
Now-
guys are
now it's
frozen
jumping.
now.
And you're delayed.
Yeah.
Your internet is horrible today,
Your
Dave.
internet is terrible. Are you like,
Man,
what are you doing, man?
I have waited too long.
Wow, what is going on?
Dave, man. I can see the comments now. Damn it, Dave.
Damn it, Dave!
Damn it, Dave.
Damn it, Dave!
But anyway, while we're waiting for Dave, waiting for Dave to rejoin us from the land of,
Where does he live? Alaska? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I have no idea where Dave. I think he's like in Michigan or something like that. But
Oh yeah, they have internet. What's up?
yeah, what's going on, Dave? I mean, but
Yo,
anyway,
Dave. Dave, we'll take your silence as a man. I failed today. Yeah, see, he agrees.
Dave. All right, so before Dave disappeared off the face of the earth, he brought up a pretty interesting point. So if it does turn out that Ultron is a creation of Tony Stark in Avengers 2, it may be that kind of triggers his alcoholism, because his alcoholism was like a big part of Tony Stark's character in the Marvel comics. Like he was always battling alcoholism.
Right, no, but it's like I was saying, that was the plot of Iron Man 2. That also happened during the Disney buyout, and they adapted it to be more family friendly. So his alcoholism got briefly touched on, and it got dummied down to almost non-existent. That's why you don't even realize it. But the whole scene where he was getting drunk and with his armor on in the middle of the thing, that was supposed to be a part of the whole demon in the bottle plotline.
Yeah.
So
See, do what?
they've already kind of touched on it. And a matter of fact, that if you notice in Avengers and in Iron Man 3, he avoids alcohol as if it was a major problem, like in Demon in the Bottle. So they basically are acknowledging it happened, but we're not going to really touch on it.
See, I would rather they touch on that because it made his character like really dynamic. It made him really
Yeah.
interesting. I mean,
I would have rather had that entire movie be about a superhero who becomes an alcoholic. Like what?
Yeah.
That's a great concept to begin with. That's one of the things that started making Tony Stark Tony Stark.
but see, here's one of the cool things too that I was thinking about when it came to Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. Do you see? Because I know you've read the storyline. Do you see Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark as like the Civil War Tony Stark?
Yeah, I could see that.
See, for me, it's kind of hard to connect the two. I mean, he's never
The problem-
serious.
The problem is, in his books, he's never serious. His books, he's Tony Stark from the Avengers.
Yeah,
Everything else, he's evil leader of the Illuminati.
yeah, exactly. Like the new Avengers, he's the evil
Yeah.
leader of the Illuminati. Yeah. So
It's almost like we have two versions of Iron Man being played off because they're trying to cater to the people who like the movies, but at the same time, Bendis already had a plan for what he was going to do with Iron Man.
yeah. And I would like to have seen that come to fruition. I would have liked to have, because Michael, I mean, man, Bendis can write like some seriously good books. Like, going through like the Civil War storylines and all that kind of stuff. Like he can write. I mean, Brian Michael Bendis can do some amazing storytelling. So I would like to have seen where he could go with Tony Stark and just how deep of a character he could take him. But
Right.
the one thing that I'm worried about, because I didn't realize that they were supposed to like include the alcoholism of Tony Stark.
I don't know how
in Iron
true
Man
that
2.
is, but I've read a lot of things recently about that. And I remember reading originally when they wrote Iron Man 2 that was what it was. It was the demon in the bottle.
See, I wish they had kept that because I understand that Disney owns it and Disney doesn't necessarily want to kind of have their name tied to the darker elements of the way that comics can get, but when it comes to a character like Iron Man, and when it comes to a lot of the characters of Marvel Comics, what makes them unique is the fact that they're down, like they're gritty, like they're you and me, and they have problems and they struggle. I mean, you see that
Right.
during Civil War. Like there are superheroes who just stop being superheroes because they just can't afford to be superheroes anymore because they have day jobs and they don't want to lose their jobs, or they're in
Right.
college and they don't want to be, kicked out of college or something. I mean, there's all kinds of different things going on, but with Tony Stark having like battling alcoholism, I thought was a really cool element to his character. And this is the kind of thing I was afraid of when we learned that Disney was going to be taking over Marvel, is that we'd see this exact kind of thing where we see like this kind of toning down of elements of the comic book, where we see this kind of like, ramping up of family-friendly themes and stuff like that, which is cool.
Well, it is cool, but it's kind of a problem. You look at the Avengers. Half of the Avengers movie is all just funny jokes and how can we get along.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great movie. I loved it, but that's what it is. Look at Thor 2. Thor 2 is the darkest Thor we've had, and even that was more of a jokey, oh, look at the guy who just got powers lift a car. Oh, look at the hammer go flying. Oh, look at Jane make a joke. You know, it was the family-friendly action movie.
That's true, but also look at Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
That was
was
how much swearing was there? How much death was there? How much darker tone elements was there? Not very much. It was like a superhero action movie, kind of toned down for kids.
I don't know, man. I mean,
There was a lot of destruction, but it was PG-13 destruction.
that's true.
Things explode, no one dies. People survive massive things like jumping out of an air carrier. I loved the movie. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not bashing on the movie, but what I'm stating is it is more toned down for the Disney audience. It really is. They're trying to. I mean, if you look at it, Disney's now promoting Avengers Disney Infinity. They've got games coming out for the Avengers. Disney XD has got an Avengers TV show. And they're trying to make, as even if it's not the same continuity, somebody can watch the Disney of Earth's Mightiest Heroes and then go watch the movie.
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, all right. The great thing about the Captain America: The Winter Soldier film is that, for me, it followed a lot of elements of the comics in the sense that you don't have to have all kinds of swearing and like gratuitous violence to have a good story, you know, or to be able to have like a good movie. Like, I thought Captain America: The Winter Soldier was great for what it was. Like, you had political themes, you had, you know, this is fear and freedom and all that kind of stuff. You had all those kind of themes that were going on. You know, they were great themes, and it was a great story. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, okay.
Let me ask you this: Winter Soldier. Would you take a 6-year-old kid to go see that? That's how you should look at it, because that's probably how Disney looks at it.
Well, all right.
Which would explain why Demon in the Bottle was toned down, because no one's going to take a 6-year-old kid to see Iron Man get drunk.
That's true, but even then, I wouldn't take a kid to see Captain. Okay, all right, okay. Let's think about this from the perspective of people that are not us. Like, we're knowledgeable about comics. We've read a lot of this stuff. We know about the Ed Brubaker run of the Winter Soldier. So, let's say that we don't know anything about comic books. All right, and with all the movies that have been released to date, then your question being asked, would I take a 6-year-old to see Captain America: The Winter Soldier? Yes.
Exactly.
Because it's a Captain America movie. I mean, it's based on Captain America 1 and the movies that we've seen so far. Okay, yes. It is a family-friendly, kid-friendly kind of thing. But,
I mean, look at it. The Winter Soldier is this crazy assassin who's done a lot of dirty things. And in that movie, other than implying he did it, he didn't do anything.
yeah, well, see, that was one of the things that I was really disappointed with them doing. All right, the coolest thing about the Ed Brubaker run, the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, you know, kind of Captain America from the 1960s, and even the Captain America from the 1940s, basically they kind of established Bucky Barnes as like the family-friendly sidekick. He was like the Robin of Captain America. All right, Dave keeps
He literally was. I think he was literally made to be the Robin of Captain America.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, you know, that was the 1-2 punch back in the day. Like Marvel, you had Bucky Barnes and Captain America. That was the Batman and Robin of Marvel and DC, or of Marvel Comics. And of course, you had Batman and Robin and the most popular sidekick superhero duo of all time. But when Ed Brubaker came around, he said that the whole idea of Bucky Barnes was to be a darker character. That Bucky Barnes was designed to be the sidekick of Captain America because he was willing to do the things that Captain America wasn't willing to do. Like, Captain America was not willing to kill people, but Bucky Barnes would.
Yeah, well, no. What they did was they reinvented Bucky Barnes, because Bucky Barnes was kid-friendly, and the reinvention was he was a top-secret assassin, so it made sense for him to become the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I liked about Ed Brubaker's thing, because it brought Bucky Barnes into a real world, into like the modern day Marvel comics. Because, you know, if someone like Bucky Barnes was introduced in modern comics as being like a 1960s character, nobody would take him seriously. They think he was silly, and they'd be like, okay, this is kind of a stupid character.
Well, it's just like Robin. Even Robin had to even adjust the outfit. You can't run around in like underwear and little elf shoes.
That's true. But nonetheless, like, you know, the one thing.
On a side note, did you see that video? 1960s Robin teams up with Dark Knight from Dark Knight Rises. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Really? It's like Bane and Batman fighting it out. He just comes. He's like, "All right, put up your nukes. Holy smokes, Batman!"
Like, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Look it up.
Yeah, dude, I need to look that up. But the one thing that really disappointed me.
The reason I bring that up, real quick, is because it's exactly what you're talking about. You can't take those family-friendly sidekicks and put them into nowadays. Nowadays, Batman is dark and gritty and evil. and you get a chippy Burt Warden 1960s Robin who's jumping around and all happy-go-lucky and everything's going to work out in the end. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's why Bucky had to get reinvented.
But see, here's the thing. Like in the films, we didn't see that. Like in the movies, we didn't see the Bucky Barnes reinvention, the Ed Brubaker Bucky Barnes, and
Right.
that's what I really liked about Bucky Barnes, because when I was going through and do it.
I said, actually, Bucky got his own reinvention in the entire show. In the movie, I mean, he was older than Captain America. He helped get him
different.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
totally
was-
different character.
Yeah, totally different. But nonetheless, like I liked the element of, I liked what they did with Captain America 1. It wasn't a bad movie. Like it's one of my top 3 Marvel films that they've come out with so far. But to me, Bucky Barnes was, for the most part, the opposite of Captain America. And that was what he was designed to be by Ed Brubaker. He was,
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that in the Ed Brubaker run, when they gave us, one, the backstory, the origin story of Bucky Barnes, the way that Ed Brubaker had done it. And 2, when we actually saw, Captain America Volume 5, and we actually saw the run of Ed Brubaker when he first took over the Captain America helm. For me, it was this Bucky Barnes who was going in and assassinating people. Like, he was killing people. He was committing some pretty heinous acts, because that's what he was trained to do. He was trained by the government to be the sidekick of Captain America and to go in and do some really shady stuff. He had a really bad past. He had a violent past. Oh,
Hey,
Dave's
Dave.
back. What's going on, man?
Hey.
We are
Okay, so I've reset everything: the
Oh, my
modem,
camera
the router,
went.
the switch.
Okay.
Hopefully it stays. If not, I guess if I disconnect, you guys just keep going.
Well, that's what we did. Like, we were talking about, actually, before you joined up, we were talking about, like, the whole Marvel comics, and we were... what was that? What was that?
This is my distaste for Dave's recent connection. Dave!
Damn it, Dave.
Comcast.
But so me and Benny were talking about the Marvel films and how they're like family-friendly films for the most part. And he raised a really good point. He said, would you take a 6-year-old to see Captain America? Or Captain America the Winter Soldier. And I told him that if, looking at it from a non-Marvel Comics reader's perspective, from a soccer mom or somebody that just doesn't know anything about comics, all the other comic book movies we had seen up to that point, my answer would be yes. Because you would think that it would be family friendly. Now, there were elements of it that were kind of dark and more serious, but for the most part, I kind of sided with Benny on that one.
Well,
Right.
here's what I was thinking real quick about that, real fast before you jump in, Dave. What I like what they're doing with it, because what they've done now is Demon in the Bottle was implied in pretty much, it was stated almost that it happened during Iron Man 2. We got just enough that comic book fans were like, oh, Demon in the Bottle's going on, he's getting drunk. But they pulled back enough that you could still bring a 6-year-old to see that movie. And in Winter Soldier didn't actually kill anybody or do anything insane like oh my God, evil assassination kind of stuff. But we heard all about it, how he's been around for years and all this stuff. So comic book fans are like, oh, Winter Soldier, crazy assassin. But when you look at the movie as a whole, you can still take a 6-year-old to go see it because the Winter Soldier didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So they're trying to cater to us, the fans, but keep it in line with, they're aiming for a PG-13 rating on all this stuff. They're trying to make it for the largest, broadest audience they can do.
Which, to a degree, that makes sense. I mean, it was like World War Z, for example, to kind of sidetrack. Like, people were up in arms about World War Z, about how the movie was nothing like the book, and so on and so forth. But when you've got a production company that's coming in and they're making a movie, they've got to make it for as many people as possible. And there
Right.
are not that many people that read World War Z. World War Z was kind of like a cult book. I mean, there were a lot of people that did, but it was a very small niche of society. And when you're talking about something as popular as zombies, they have to do it in a way where people that don't know anything about World War Z, don't know what it's based on, and don't know anything about the Max Brooks novel, will go and see the movie. And so with these, it's the exact same way. But what I was telling Benny was, one of the things I didn't like was with the original Captain America film, Captain America, the First Avenger, Bucky Barnes was not revamped. He was not the way that he was in the comics. And while I wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say that I'm like a huge stickler that they have to match the comic book characters, I'm not really like that anymore. What I would say is that the way that Ed Brubaker did Bucky Barnes, well, mine went blank for a second. The way he did Bucky Barnes was he made him a much darker character. He made him the guy that would do stuff that Captain America wasn't willing to do. But, Bucky Barnes would kill people. He would infiltrate. He was good at espionage. He was good at all that kind of stuff. He was a very skilled assassin and spy. And those skills carried over when he became the Winter Soldier. And so now like, you know, when Captain America: The Winter Soldier came out, we didn't really know the backstory of Bucky Barnes until almost, you know, 3/4 of the way through the movie, and then we saw that he was brainwashed. But what we didn't get was the fact that all these skills that he had over the years that he had utilized, traveling with Captain America, fighting in World War II with Captain America, assassinating and breaking into secret government bases in Europe with Captain America, those were skills that helped him to develop and to become, you know, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, during the Ed Brubaker run of Captain America. And so I really would have loved to have seen that element of Bucky Barnes' character. I really would have loved to have seen the violent and the, you know, sadistic, more or less, kind of Bucky Barnes, because it made his character interesting, you know, during the Volume 5 Ed Brubaker run of Captain America. And it would have made his character a little more relatable in the film. But,
Well, yeah, I guess in the cinematic universe, if that's the case, they kind of killed him off too early, so to speak, because they saw the friendship between Captain America and Bucky build, you know, over their lives at home and, you know, their lives while they were fighting together, but we didn't really see any of, you know, him doing it much different. He was just helping Captain America.
Right. Well, I mean, and this actually goes back to that discussion right there. Goes back to what we talked about last week, where they're not going to adapt for the comics. They are trying to hit the largest target audience. That's the whole entire purpose of these movies. X-Men changing Days of Future Past is because everyone wants to see Wolverine, not Kitty Pryde. And making Bucky Barnes the family-friendly assassin, which is pretty much what they've done, is to target the largest audience. Assassins are cool. And, you know, parents will be like, you know, you want to go blast in the past? G.I. Joe. Was Snake Eyes not everybody's favorite G.I. Joe?
Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow were the two coolest characters.
Did they ever assassinate anyone? You knew what they were. They were ninja assassins. That was what they did. They infiltrated. They did cool stuff. But did they ever actually do it?
No, in the cartoon show, they just fought, and that was it.
Because because the implication or just the idea that they'll do it is enough.
Well,
That's what it comes down to.
but see, that's why the Ed Brubaker run of Captain America was so important. That's why him revamping Bucky Barnes and bringing him back was so important, because, you know, with the original Captain America comics, they were sidekicks, and they were a reflection of society at the time. So you didn't have extreme violence with those characters. You know, with the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby run of Captain America, you didn't really see anything about Bucky Barnes. He appeared in some backstories, but there was no character development because he had been assumed to be dead, and so there was no reason to really do any character development. So he appeared sporadically over the course of the Avengers and Captain America comics, and it was, you know, there wasn't anything major there. And then Ed Brubaker comes along, and Ed Brubaker says, "Here's the entire backstory of Bucky Barnes, and here's how he really was, and everything that you read in the original Captain America comics was kind of a sham, and that's not really what was going on." That's why it was so serious, because it gave us the backstory of Bucky Barnes. And so we were basically getting like a new character, but more or less kind of being reintroduced to a character that we had already known about before. And so that's why it was so big, and that's why it was so interesting, and that's why I would have liked to have seen him portrayed that way, because for the most part, there's really no backstory when it comes to Bucky Barnes aside from the Ed Brubaker run.
But there doesn't really need to be. I mean, in the 1960s, there's no backstory really to anybody.
Right.
I mean, to a
They
degree,
were all
there
just
is,
modern
but-
stories.
No, everyone gets an origin story, and that was it. We didn't develop characters in the 1960s. Batman wasn't developed. Superman wasn't developed. You know, Superman was a guy that crash landed on Earth as an alien trying to get along. And now he's going to stop a bank robber. You know, Captain America was a super soldier for the U.S. government to stop the Nazis. And that was it. That was the
Yeah, it was
entire...
just a tagline back then. You know, like...
That's true. That's true. But
I mean, look at other classic heroes that they brought out back in the day. Even the X-Men, you know, they're trying. That's even more current. But they were only introduced to show basically, you know, segregation in society. The X-Men, students learning under Charles Xavier, and now they're going to stop a bank robber. I don't know. Bank robbers are a big thing in the 19.
That was the biggest threat.
Yeah, that was the biggest threat.
I mean, you got to think, in the 1960s, how violent could you really be in comic books? I mean, like
Yeah.
Days of Future Past was pushing
Well-
it. That wasn't even the 1960s. That was 80s. So
Yeah.
And remember, even back then, like, you know, I guess it was more in the 70s and the 80s, but I heard about, you know, people, like, ranting about comics destroying, like, childhoods and,
Right,
like,
right.
raping
You gotta think,
children's
this is
minds.
the day and age, Rob, and this is why they did not elaborate on a lot of this stuff, where if your music had too many guitar riffs, you were considered satanic.
Yeah.
I just got done watching a movie about the Memphis Three, the guys who listened to music and liked Wiccan, who got accused of the deaths of 3 kids in the late 90s.
Wow.
And all because they listened to music and read Wiccan books. And they've just gotten acquitted and sent off. Like it is only recent that people have really started to accept darker kind of tones of stuff. Well, even in the 90s, it really wasn't.
But
look at comic books in the 90s. Everything was just flash in the pan stuff, bright colors, crazy stuff going on. And your darkest character, Spawn.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
I mean, I'm running through all these characters in my head. Like I'm thinking. About
even
characters.
Wolverine was just dark and moody.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Basically what they've done with the comic books is they've just kind of gone back to the way things were, but they are giving us, the current comic book fans, what we want. When it comes to Iron Man and Demon in the Bottle, I'm going to keep pulling it back to the topic, Rob. When it comes to Iron Man and Demon in the Bottle and Bucky and the Winter Soldier, they're going back to the comic books that kids will read. You know, mom is not going to let little Davy of 12 years old. Man, that beard is crazy for a 12-year-old. Little Davy, go get a Winter Soldier comic and watch him assassinate a bunch of people. But she will let him get a comic where it's implied that it happened. That, yes, he is a darker guy, but he always moves for the greater good.
Yeah, but yeah, you don't actually see him killing people.
It's headlines right now that Superman will kill somebody. You know? How often do you hear about whenever somebody dies in a comic and it's a bloody fashion, it always makes headlines. Oh my God, comics are so violent!
Even like, you know, when they came out and said Batman, you know, doesn't kill people and that's his moral code, but think about how many people he's thrown off a roof or let fall off a roof. It's always off to the side. You never really see.
No, I'll give you one more, though. He doesn't actually kill people, but think about the amount of stuff he does to people and how many people that would have killed if this wasn't a comic book.
Right, exactly. Or the stuff he just lets happen. I mean, I know they're bad people, but, you know, if they lose their balance and stumble off the roof, it's not like he chases them. You know, it's not like he zip lines down and saves the villain.
Actually, he does, but there are other versions of Batman they come out with, like Thomas Wayne, that just throws people off the building.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for the info. Bye!
But Thomas Wayne was supposed to be like an alternate reality version of.
Yeah, that's the Flashpoint.
Yeah, that's right.
Right now in the New 52, Batman's really the only one that won't kill still, but they've pretty much allowed everyone else to do that. So, I mean, if you saw my Forever Evil video, I got a bunch of comments, people going, "Wow, DC got violent." They were stepping on people. They were cutting off limbs on people. They were killing people outright, shoving spears through their chest. Like, and as much as people like the story, it got reviewed as, this is violent. Don't let your kids read this.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Deadpool was really controversial. See, Deadpool, when they brought him in and he had his healing factor, it was kind of a big deal because people would throw grenades at him. And like it would blow holes in his body.
Yeah, it still does that.
In Civil War, like he's going against the Great Lakes Avengers, and he pulls a grenade and blows a hole in his stomach, you know, in order to kind of defeat the Great Lakes Avengers, and then he just heals himself. But a lot of kids weren't able to differentiate between.
Losing Dave again.
Yeah, we're losing David. Oh no, we're not.
No,
he's delayed. It's gonna happen again. As soon as it goes down, I want everyone to go in the comments and be like, "Damn you, Dave! This isn't
go on without me."
But we just want to see "Damn you, Dave" over and over and over.
You're delaying something fierce, man.
I know, so awesome.
Man.
Dave will remember you. We'll hold on to the memory. what was it you said in Titanic?
Rob, are you going to jump off the building and save Dave? Because he's fallen.
I'll throw him a rope.
I'm going to get a new modem tonight.
Okay.
It's happening.
Word.
And now your mouth is saying what you just said.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're
So
starting to catch it.
maybe it's something that's going on with Comcast and my modem.
There you go. Now you're caught back up again.
Is he?
Yeah, it looked like it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. You're back.
Hey, I'm back.
But anyway, so the whole thing with Deadpool was it established this idea that kids could do anything. You know, kids didn't understand the idea of ramifications. That's why it was a big deal, because no matter what Deadpool did, he always healed. He always came back. And so kids do what?
So did Wolverine, but Wolverine didn't do it in a comical sense.
Yeah, he didn't make it like an enjoyment thing, like this is fun to destroy myself, to destroy the enemy kind of thing.
Right.
You know, like Deadpool had no real regard for life. Like he was dark and he was really screwed up, and he'd do he'd kill people just for
the
the
latest
sake of
books
it.
for Deadpool versus Carnage, he did that to kill Carnage.
Yeah. But
He
what I'm
killed
saying
himself.
is, yeah, like a lot of kids, when you're young, you don't understand the ramifications of your actions. It's just part of being young. You just don't know how things work. And so a lot of kids would look at Deadpool and they would say, that's funny. And then they would do stupid stuff. This was a big thing, back in the late 90s. A lot of parents were freaking out over that, And so, I understand the idea that not every character who is represented in the comic books can be represented that way on the silver screen, and I understand. I mean, that's fine with me, But there are some characters that you just can't deviate from because the character as they're presented to us at some point in the comic is the most memorable form of that character. Like nobody remembers Bucky Barnes, or not. Nobody really cares about Bucky Barnes back in the 1940s with Captain America. But when you say Bucky Barnes, people think of Winter Soldier.
Right.
So, that's the Bucky Barnes that everybody knows and everybody loves. The Bucky Barnes that took over for Captain America when he was assassinated by Sharon Carter. I mean, it was a really, really kind of cool event that took place, with this character and its evolution in Marvel Comics. And so, to really kind of skim over a lot of that and to say, well, he was a friend of Captain America's and he fell off a train and now all of a sudden he's one of the Winter Soldier. People are just kind of like, all right, what's going on here? Give us a little.
Well,
more
I like how they did it in the movie, though. I mean, they touched on he's a good friend, and they touched on the train thing, and they touched on everything. And then when we got to the Winter Soldier, they're just like, oh yeah, he's this amazing assassin, killed countless people. That's pretty much all they said. Everyone be afraid of him. He's a crazy assassin. So us comic book fans are like, oh yeah, he's a crazy assassin. And the kids are like, oh cool, it's another Snake Eyes.
Yeah, but in the comics,
I don't know
there's a
what
lot
kid
of-
sounds like that. But.
there was a lot of mystery and intrigue surrounding the Winter Soldier. Like from the time, I think it was about halfway through. No, it was at the beginning of the comic book. It was at the beginning of of the Winter Soldier run that we really started hearing about the Winter Soldier. I mean, we didn't know anything about him. Like, we knew nothing about him. Nick Fury's like, well, he's only appeared like 5 or 6 times, and I don't even really have any information on this guy. And if Nick Fury doesn't know about him, then nobody knows about him.
Right.
And so it's just kind of like, all right, I mean, who is this guy? Like, what in the heck's going on here? And then suddenly, we've got a panel in the comic where Bucky Barnes has a sniper rifle aiming at Captain America's head. So, it was a really cool, like, slow build-up. And that's one of the reasons why I loved Ed Brubaker's run so much is because it was this slow build-up. And Sharon Carter's like, I think it's Bucky. And then it's like, bam, a full panel of Bucky Barnes in the comic books. The first time we see him in almost like 40 or 50 years. And so it's a really, really cool deal, and I just felt like the film didn't do it
But they
justice.
couldn't do that. Well, they couldn't. Unless you had a film come out in the 1940s involving Bucky Barnes and Captain America.
I understand
The
that.
realization that he's turned into an assassin, it's just not going to have that same impact.
Yeah, but in the movie, it was like, okay, like there's this plot going on, and there's something going on with Hydra, and we're not really sure what it is, and then bam, Winter Soldier. And so it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
and that's kind of how it happened in the comics, honestly.
It was a build-up in the comics, man.
Yeah,
It was a crescendo.
Okay, you've got months of build-up in a comic book, and you have an hour-and-a-half movie.
Okay, it could have been aesthetic. You could have seen a hidden hand. You could have seen any number of things. I mean, like we saw where somebody had assassinated the Red Skull and then stole the Cosmic Cube. Turned out to be Bucky Barnes, but we didn't know that. We just knew that there was somebody who was going around killing people on behalf of a Russian general who was defected from the Russian government. Like, we didn't know what in the world was going on.
But you
And
couldn't do that in an hour-and-a-half. And Disney Marvel won't do that.
I understand that there were a lot of elements from the comic they couldn't include, but they could have definitely built the character up over the movie.
But you got to think about it this way, though. They're setting him up to be a hero. And you can't make him outright kill everybody, go insane in a kid-friendly movie.
That's true.
Because what's going to happen is this. We're going to have that guy become the new Captain America or get his own movie because he signed on for freaking 9 movies.
Yeah.
He's doing something else. And, Little Davy's mom is not going to take Little Davy to go see a movie where he just mass
Man,
kills.
why am I little Davy all of a sudden?
Because you keep dropping out.
Yeah.
Your call keeps dropping out.
Little Davy's mom is not going to take him to go watch Winter Soldier be a hero for 5 movies and then go pick up a movie where it builds up how many people he's killed.
Oh, okay.
You got to think about the future of things here.
That's true.
Because if they're gonna turn him into a superhero and not a villain, he needs to pretty much be a superhero day one. And the biggest thing that Little Davy's mom wants to see is 2 best friends fighting. That's it.
That's true.
And that's all it is. It was Captain America versus Winter Soldier. Bucky. That was it.
Yeah, that was basically it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
So
Little Davy, why is your mom so strict?
Man, dude.
I don't know. My mom won't buy me a modem either.
You have to come home when the lights come on. Oh man.
One thing I will say in my defense, though, is I think it might have something to do with a storm that happened yesterday, which also prevented me from recording part of my show.
Oh,
Because there was a big storm, lots of rain. We've got roof damage,
that's fine.
and it pretty much knocked down all of the trees that were broken up in a windstorm like 2 months ago as well. So,
You got roof damage?
yeah,
Oh, that
our
sucks.
roof is leaking in the next room over.
Like right now, like I'm looking like right up there at the top of your bookcase, waiting for like the roof to come crashing.
Oh no, not in here.
Okay, you know what?
My family
I'm
has a
gonna ask
guest
this.
room over that way.
Oh, okay.
Every call we get into and every podcast we do, I've always wondered this. What is the mannequin doll on top of that dresser?
That is such a good question.
Okay, Rob's got the
Oh,
same
you're talking-
question I do.
That's like, it's something that we used to, artists used to use for like poses and sketches.
Right.
So they would draw that outline after they posed like the figure in that pose,
Oh.
and then they'd put the details over it.
Okay, so better question. You never put that in a dress and dance it around, do you?
Oh, all the time.
Best response. That was a great response. Okay. So here's something I've been wondering about with the introduction, because we're gonna take a
Well,
step away
actually,
from-
hold on real quick to close that out real quick, though, because we did start that on Demon in the Bottle.
We did,
The
we
same
did.
thing applies to Demon in the Bottle.
Okay.
We've got Iron Man 1, great superhero movie. Iron Man 3, great superhero movie. He's going to show up as a primary character in Avengers 1, 2, and 3. He's going to pop up all over the place. Little Davy's mom does not want to take him to see Iron Man in all these movies, and little Davy loves Iron Man, so she goes, oh, let me grab this Iron Man 2 movie and watch Tony Stark get drunk the whole movie.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why
I
it's
agree with
glanced
that.
over.
I
It's
agree
true.
that Disney would most likely not condone a film that in any way more or less promotes alcoholism.
But
Well, it may not have even been
Disney
Disney.
owned Marvel when Iron Man 2 came out? I don't think they did.
Yeah, that was during that period. It was right at the same time. Which
Oh,
actually
okay.
makes me wonder, though, if maybe Marvel didn't even want to do it. Because when you look at the future of this franchise,
Yeah.
let's say we get to Iron Man 10.
They're
you know?
not going to make a rated R movie to have.
Exactly. They're not going to make a
in
rated
their-
R movie, and we're not going to get to Iron Man 10 where he's this amazing hero, and then, oh, look, we had just have this one movie where he gets drunk the whole movie.
yeah.
I mean, they're kind of dancing like around. I mean, they're not even going to dance around the border where like it's the worst PG-13 movie that could come out, because they want parents that look at, you know, their kids watching PG, and maybe they're starting to get old enough to watch PG-13 movies that they can take them to.
yeah.
Well, it's like I told you. Here's the problem. Earth's Mightiest Hero has Iron Man, Captain America, and the Avengers in the cartoon on Disney XD, and that channel is aimed for 10 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's what that whole channel is aimed for. And Disney even probably a lot of Marvel too, because they were selling these rights to Disney to do this before that. Wants that 10 to 12-year-old kid to watch that cartoon and then see the commercial for his favorite superhero and go see that movie. And if the movie is a giant alcohol thing or Winter Soldier killing dozens of people, little Davy's mom's gonna be like, what were they thinking?
yeah.
Yeah.
I understand where they're coming from. I can get that. I can
Because
get
even
that whole
in
class-
conservative areas, like if somebody gets killed in a movie,
Yeah.
like people aren't going to go see it.
Even look at the TV show, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That skates around all death and crazy mutilation and stuff like that.
that. Yeah.
You know, they skate around all that stuff because they're trying to keep that family-friendly tone across the board because it's the largest demographic.
I mean, for example, like one of the things that I'm talking about here in the next I don't know, a few days or so, the next week or so, is the tie-ins for Civil War between 2 and 3. And one of the tie-ins is in Civil War Frontline issue number 3, I think. And there's a fight between Thunderclap and Bantam, I think. And Thunderclap throws Bantam into a tanker truck, and it blows up. And so you see like this like Sins, where he's like, you know, this screwed up Sins version of Bantam, like totally fried. You know, and that's not something
and-
you would probably see in the movie.
In
Or in a
I don't know if I'm ruining anything. I hope not. But when Giant Man gets killed,
Yeah, you just
he
totally
gets like a
ruined-
hole right through his chest.
You just
Yeah.
totally ruined stuff. Don't tell him who did it. Don't tell him who killed him. But
Nah.
yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Storyline
If
from
you
what
really
was
wanna
it,
go
10 years
brutal-
ago.
Yeah.
If you really want to get brutal, and this is actually a really good question for you. Zombies are a huge thing right now, right?
Oh God, Marvel Zombies.
If they didn't care about the rating, guarantee you we'd have a Marvel Zombies movie.
I would love to see a Marvel Zombie because there's
But you can't make that for kids.
I mean, the top of
There's
Captain America's
no way
head's
you
chopped
could
off.
do that as a family-friendly movie.
You really couldn't. I mean, they had characters with the brain spilling out of their heads, walking
Yeah,
around.
well, and Iron Man got cut in half, and he was like still crawling around and
Yeah.
using
Spider-Man,
his
Spider-Man
hand
slinks
boosters.
from his own intestines.
Yeah, it's really stuff.
You're just not gonna see that movie made though. There's so many more important storylines that they could do other than an
Well, yeah, but if they
alternate
wanted to
dimension
crap
where
ton of
there's.
movie- if they want to crap ton of money, that's what they would do.
Okay. So Dave, you bring up other storylines, and I want to segue into a question that I've been wondering.
Okay.
So we see the Scarlet Witch.
Oh my God, you're obsessed with her, Mad Jim Jaspers.
That chick is hot, man.
Hey,
that
Scarlet Witch
Like, the
really
chick is-
screwed up.
Yeah, the actress that's playing the Scarlet Witch is gorgeous. I can't remember what her name is, but she's really good looking. All right. Do you think we could see like a House of M movie? Or an Avengers
hope
Disassembled
so.
movie? I'd like to see an Avengers. I know, Benny, you're doing Avengers Disassembled on your channel. I want to see an Avengers Disassembled like event coming out of the Marvel Cinematic
Are you
Universe.
talking? Are you talking about on the Fox side or on the Marvel side?
That's where your problem's going to be.
Exactly, that's what the problem is.
House of M and Avengers Disassembled incorporates a lot of X-Men and Avengers.
I feel like where Marvel is going right now with their franchise, at least their terrestrial Earth-based movies, is Civil War.
Yeah.
Well,
If they're going to go anywhere, and that comes way after House of M.
here's
So-
what I see happening, and this is what I've been reading. There's a reason why we're getting a giant Inhumans push. They're going to be bringing out the Inhumans. I don't know if you go to the store because Rob, you get yours through digital mostly, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and Dave, you get big trades. So you're not really staying up with the current promotions going
Yeah.
in the store.
This is the
There's
book I'm reading right now.
Which one is it?
There's a big push for the
AVX Companion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, Benny. Go ahead.
There's a big push for the Inhumans right now. We had the Inhumanity event. Infinity brought them into the forefront. And there's a large discussion of, look, if Fox isn't going to give us back the X-Men, then we're going to bring out the Inhumans. And the Inhumans are just a retelling of the X-Men for the most part. They really are. How they got their powers and everything. Everyone gets their powers due to the Terrigenesis. So there's a big theory right now that Phase 3 is going to focus on the Inhumans coming into play. Because that gives Marvel basically mutants, and they can reinvent every superhero. The same reason why we're doing Guardians of the Galaxy going into Nova, because Marvel can't get back Spider-Man. So the theories of what's going on with Phase 3 is that we're going to get an Inhuman storyline, a Nova storyline, Guardians of the Galaxy is going to get their sequel, and then the third event with Thanos is going to incorporate all of them. And think about it, Thanos, Inhumans, Terrigenesis bomb. Now you have mutants, basically.
That's what I was thinking, man. Are they going to bring the Terrigenesis bomb? Because the Terrigenesis bomb just spreads throughout the world, and all of the
They're setting it up.
Inhumans become inhuman. Like they develop powers and everything. So
Right, you could have an Inhumans movie, which is all about Black Bolt and Medusa and that little in-family war, and then Thanos shows up looking for his daughter. Instead of doing the Infinity Gauntlet right away, they could go for a Infinity story. And then once you've got all of these new gifted Inhumans all over the place, and it could be in place right now. They could easily say that they're not gifted. That Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are Inhumans, and their powers are awakened by Loki's death.
But I thought they said they weren't going to be Inhumans.
But how easy would it be to reverse that around? Is what I'm saying.
It would
If
be
they go
super
that route.
easy to do, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be kind of disappointing to a lot of people too. But honestly, to say they're Inhumans
They
is
have
better
to,
than to
because
say
they
they're
can't
just
even say
miracles. Yeah, it's better than saying like they're
Right.
miracles. It's like, okay, look, I mean, miracles.
Right.
Just say they're Inhumans. Like,
But right now we've never even seen the Inhumans. So if they just start calling them Inhumans now, you're going to be everybody who doesn't read comics can be like, what?
Yeah.
But there's talks about a Black Bolt Medusa Inhuman movie coming out for Phase 3, and if we have the Inhumans and we bring in Attilan, and then Thanos shows up. Boom goes the Terrigenesis bomb. Now you've got whatever superpowers that the Marvel wants to come out with. If you bring in Nova, now you've got your teenage kid replacement for Spider-Man dealing with his new power set, cracking jokes, and they're just swapping everyone out.
But
Because
here's
that's
the-
what they have the rights to still.
here's another question too. You also keep in mind that just because an Inhuman develops powers doesn't mean they're going to look the same. Like they might go
Right.
through like a physical transformation. So is Marvel really going to want to take the role of saying, okay, not only do we have Inhumans and they have powers, but now we have people who are like half man, half horse, and they're super strong. And now we have a man that looks like a bug and he can run super fast. And I mean, are they going to go through that whole thing, or are they
They
just
could
gonna
easily
give
just
them
stay
powers?
away from it.
Do
I
it.
mean, the core. Okay, they could easily get away from that. The core Inhumans that we're gonna know when they come out, because they're gonna go with the Inhuman group. You're gonna have Black Bolt, Medusa. None of them look crazy. The Inhumans group doesn't look crazy. The Inhumans themselves can look crazy. So we could very easily just not do that this time around. They could easily rewrite all of that to make it easier.
I don't know. What do you think, Dave? What do you think about Inhumans in Marvel?
Well, I think in terms of X-Men in the X-Men movies, I mean, some of them look really crazy. Think about Toad
Yeah.
in the X-Men movies. Like, he's got green, like, slimy skin and a long tongue, and, his eyeballs are all, like, black or, like, weird. Current Toad version they're doing from First Class has all this, like, melted-looking skin with those big glasses.
yeah.
I think they could easily pull it off and still have people watch the movie and it be believable.
But see,
Oh, and real quick,
And
for those- for those
they
people-
don't have to feature the guy who's, half horse, half human and strong. They could just have him off in the distance during the Terrigen Mist
yeah.
and basically just, have him running down the street or whatever, freaking out because now he's half horse. It could easily just be thrown in there in a situation of chaos, I guess.
Just real quick, I wanted to say for anybody who's wondering who the Inhumans are, because they're not as popular as a lot of other stuff in Marvel.
Yeah.
I'll give a quick synopsis of that as our on the spot who we're showing you guys about tonight. So at the end of this.
Yeah, word.
And actually, real quick though,
even though I'm the Marvel guy, Benny can give you the
oh,
rundown.
if you want,
on
no,
the
you do it
Inhumans.
then.
No,
I do it every week. You do
no,
it. It's your
fine,
turn.
Man. No, it's
no,
fine.
you do it. No.
No.
I was
Go-
just
go
thinking
ahead,
like
Benny.
we didn't plan for something at the end, and we're talking about the Inhumans like everyone knows who they are.
Yeah, that's true.
So you explain who they are at the end of this. But to go into House of M, one thing that what about Son of M?
That's
Quicksilver-
that's exactly what I was going to
Quicksilver-
get into.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go, you go ahead since you're the Marvel guy. Yeah.
no, man, you were talking about it, Benny. I would just hate to step on your toes.
When Quicksilver loses his powers in the House of M, he tries to get them back with the Terrigenesis crystals. So you've already got Quicksilver messing with the crystals. You could very easily turn them both into just Inhumans and make the Inhumans the new thing.
That would be so easy to do, and that's. But see, also remember during the Son of M storyline, I mean, you had ramifications. Like he exposed Callisto to the Terrigen Mist and to send her powers into overdrive, and so
Yeah.
like she had these just ridiculously enhanced senses and her mind shut down, and Magneto had to take her away in order to basically keep her brain from going crazy. But the problem with the House of M is that it is largely an X-Men series. Like it's triggered by the Scarlet Witch, but it follows Wolverine. And it's a great big huge event. So you've got Luke Cage from the Avengers, from the new Avengers, and you've got Emma Frost from the X-Men, and Cyclops, and Layla Miller, and you've got Doctor Strange, and it's just such a huge and massive crossover event. Marvel really couldn't pull it off by themselves, which is why I would love to see Marvel and Fox say, let's just make a really awesome crossover event and base it on the House of M.
Well, see,
You know what I
that's-
see happening? Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
That's what I thought about Benny's theory, or the theory that Benny looked up, is it kind of gives up on that partnership if they're going to do that.
The Inhumans?
Because there's no way to bring the X-Men in after they've made the Inhumans all.
No, you
the
could still do
X-Men
it.
and-
You could easily say some of these people are mutants. It would take a couple lines, but the reason why, I guess, from what I've been reading in the article, Stan Lee is stating that they're kind of done fighting to try and get X-Men and Spider-Man back. Fox and
gave up.
Sony are going to do what they want to do, and legally, Marvel can't get them back. They can't just take them.
No, they can't.
So Marvel's now at an impasse. Do we wait until they get bored of making movies, or do we just? Marvel's got thousands of superheroes.
Yeah, well, if they were to wait for them to be bored of making movies too, it would be in all likelihood over for the comic book movie in general.
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
for a while.
Yeah.
So they're just going to move
Because-
forward with the newer stuff. And and the Inhumans, they can easily incorporate into a whole bunch of crap. You could just take the role of every one of the things. But as soon as you said House of M, I was thinking of one thing. Fox could easily do that. Once they've gotten a few X-Men movies under the belt and we fully establish what mutants and humans are, they could easily do that movie.
That's
And
true.
they've already established their own Scarlet Witch, kind of.
Exactly. She's a little girl, but that's the thing, because the Scarlet Witch is just, I mean, she was screwed up by Magneto, and she was screwed up by life experiences, and her mind was just going crazy. Because remember, I mean, you got the whole Avengers Disassembled event, which was like the lead up to her going nuts, you know. And then you've got the House of M, which is where she just falls off the deep end. And
Right.
so, you know, I would really love to see a House of M movie, because
What if they both did it?
Marvel
What
and
if?
Fox?
Yeah. What if X-Men
Oh.
did their own House of M with Scarlet Witch as the catalyst, and Marvel introduces the Inhumans, makes Scarlet Witch an Inhuman, and bam! Now you have a House of Inhumans.
I mean, the Marvel version is going to be better, hands down.
Oh, it will be. Yeah.
But
That'd
so
be funny though, wouldn't it?
I mean, the entire, I mean, the whole basis of, or I guess not really like the whole basis, but I mean, with the House of M, like you've got a lot of themes going on. Like you've got the Fantastic Four, or what was the Fantastic Four. So you've got Victor Von Doom, who leads what stands for, or what passes for the Fantastic Four, and instead of Ben Grimm playing the Thing, he's the It. You know, so you've
Right.
got like, you know, these kind of replacements, and everybody plays totally different roles. Like Apocalypse, one of the most premier villains in the Marvel universe, is a subordinate of Magneto. So, you know, I mean, you've got
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you've got like all these total change-ups from the way that we see stuff. Doctor Strange is a psychiatrist, you know. I mean, like things are totally different, and so the way that it was done,
I personally like Spider-Man's change the most.
where where Gwen Stacy didn't die.
Yeah, and he like is he's his own villain.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because basically it was a story where everybody got what they wanted. Like, it was a Scarlet Witch giving everybody what they wanted, more or less. To a
Well, she
degree.
got her kids too.
Yeah, she got her kids, and her kids have reality warping powers, I think. But like Hawkeye's brought back to life, and it was a really, really cool event. And so I'd really love to see a movie where that's done. But the problem is, because it incorporates both the X-Men and the Avengers in equal levels, because you have X-Men and Avengers that are fighting together through Wolverine, because remember, Wolverine is part of the new Avengers, and he's an X-Men. So, you know, they're kind of fighting through Wolverine, or kind of you know, being brought together through Wolverine and Layla Miller. I would love to see a movie based on that. But the question is, would Marvel and Fox be willing to come to an agreement and come together? Like, let's make this movie, and then we'll split
They
the
never
profits
will.
50-50.
No.
Both properties, regardless of who makes the better movie, both properties sell millions.
They do.
So they're both going to want their half, or what they want out of it, and they both think that they don't need the other side.
Yeah.
Marvel of all people does not need Fox, because they can easily go Inhumans, boom, done.
Yeah.
Fox has the entire X-Men team. They can make 1,000. They can do X-Force, X-Men, X-Factor, you know. Now we're going to do Cable.
Yeah.
There's a whole debate of whether or not they own Deadpool. What if they just launched a Deadpool movie
Oh
series?
God, yeah. So here in a little bit, we need to do a quick run over on Cable, because the way the Fox is doing him in the Days of Future Past or in X-Men Apocalypse, I think is going to suck. But
What are they doing? Real
they're
quick.
using the ultimate version of Cable, which was Wolverine. Basically,
Wait. Oh. No.
yeah. As far as I understand, that's what
Just
they're
no.
doing. They're using the ultimate version of Cable, which
Well-
was Wolverine.
If you think about it, a lot of the film versions of characters are based off Ultimate Universe.
That's fine.
But-
I don't want to see another
Wait,
version
wait.
of Wolverine. I'm tired of Wolverine. Bring me
Yeah.
somebody new.
Here's what I find funny about this whole Ultimate thing, though. Everyone hates the Ultimate Universe, but every movie character is basically the Ultimate Universe version.
Well,
Yeah.
the reason, like, say you were gonna go with the Ultimate version of Tony Stark Iron Man. The biggest reason I have not read the Ultimate Comics version of Iron Man is because he wears the most hideous suit in the entire universe. And I don't mean the Ultimate Universe. I mean any universe like.
Every
Oh.
universe ever.
Oh, you're not even saying that Ultimate Cable is actually like Wolverine. He is Wolverine.
Yeah, he is
He is a
Wolverine.
future version
It's
of
a
Wolverine.
literal, yeah. It's a literal sense. Like, yeah, no, I'm not like. It's not like Cable with claws.
They're
Like,
not gonna
it's
turn Wolverine like
James
Hugh
Howlett.
Jackman Wolverine into Cable, are they?
They probably will. And all right, here's the deal.
Jackman finally says I'm done.
See, here's the deal with Wolverine. All right, one, on my channel, I will probably never do a video about Wolverine because he's got 14,000 issues that he's appeared in, and he's been done to death. Like, everybody's done Wolverine. I have no interest in doing
Well, and
that
I can understand them wanting to feature Hugh Jackman in the movies because, I mean, Hugh Jackman is popular. He's the most popular X-Man in all of the movies. But to turn him into other characters and have him featured in literally every storyline would be such a pain eventually for people to go through.
Exactly.
Like, even people who watch the movies that don't read the comics are going to be like, I'm getting bored of seeing Wolverine all the time.
Here's I have an actual problem with Wolverine. I'll cover him eventually in Comic Story. So since Rob Bone, everyone coming over. Anyway. I have an actual... Okay, I like Wolverine. I do. Badass guy, claws, healing power. The problem with Wolverine is he's boring as shit.
And he's very short.
He's got no real origin. He's a mutant who got injected with metal. He's got no real plot. He doesn't really incorporate too well into very many of the plots. He's always the, Bub, I'm going to kill him, Bub. That's the extent of his character development.
That's exactly it, man. That's how he is in Civil War. He's like,
that's what I mean. Like, he's
Nitro
Avengers versus X-Men. He was like, I got to go kill Hope. That was it. And then he spent like 20 issues looking for Hope.
Yeah.
Like, well, I think the most interesting I've ever seen of him, any storyline I read, are the storylines where he's the teacher at the school.
Yeah, Wolverine.
Because you see more emotion out of him. Like, there's a scene in the AVX companion I have, which is Wolverine and the X-Men, you know, the chunk of it that's Wolverine and the X-Men, where he goes out and there's a new student at the school and he's talking to her by the Jean Grey statue, and you know, he's like trying to calm her down and, you know, be really super friendly and more gentle versus, hey, I'm just gonna go kill people and drink beer.
I'm actually really glad you brought up that series, because that series has the most development I've ever really seen out of Wolverine. Because he's finally growing up beyond, oh, Bub, I'm gonna kill him. Oh, Bub, I'm gonna kill him. You know, going and trancing through swamps trying to find out what other experiment was done to him. Seems like every other year a new experiment has been done to Wolverine. We get it revealed. I actually followed that series for quite a while. I actually eventually abandoned it, though, because I didn't like the artwork on it. I was liking the story, but I couldn't get into the art.
I loved the artwork on that.
Did you? I just felt there was too much going on. There wasn't enough pop on the foreground and background. It would just be everything on the panel. And
I mean, it was no Messiah Complex art, but it was good. It was good art. Like, I enjoyed it.
I just couldn't get the art. But Wolverine, overall, he's a fan favorite because if you don't know comics and you walk into a store, first off, he's everywhere. Secondly, he's this really burly, awesome-looking guy with claws, and you find out that he can heal through anything, and that is the Wolverine character. There's nothing more to him. But if you don't know that much about comics, that's a cool character.
I mean, that was, in fact, that was something that like Tony Stark poked at during Civil War, and it was Wolverine Volume 3, Issue 43 or something like that. But he's like, you know, you can't go hunting around for Nitro because you might cause another Stamford, Connecticut, you know. And Wolverine's like, well, he killed 60 kids, so I'm gonna kill him, and that's it. That's all Wolverine's motivated. Like, that's all he does in Civil War is hunt down Nitro.
Exactly. That's always his motivation. Avenger versus X-Men, he looks for hope.
Yeah,
and that was what he did in Avenger versus X-Men.
Yeah.
I just got through the entire Infinity, and I cannot think of if he showed up at all in Infinity.
I don't think he. Well, no, I think he showed up with Captain America's team. No, I don't even think he did.
He wasn't with them, because that team was mostly him and Captain Marvel, and then you'd have Hawkeye and Spider-Woman and them like that. And on the planet, it was all about the Illuminati. I think he had a tie-in, but I don't think it was anything major.
You know, I think at the end of AVX he has some more character development too, or at least he has some more inner conflict because he couldn't kill Jean.
You mean Hope?
So like once he finds Hope, well, no, he couldn't kill Jean before.
Oh,
from what I've been reading.
Oh yeah, he wanted to do it beforehand, right?
Yeah, he wanted to kill Jean because he was going to. He promised her because if she lost control of the Phoenix, and that's the same thing that's going on with Hope.
Are you talking about like Chris Claremont, like the Chris Claremont run when she was Dark Phoenix in the comics?
I really haven't read that one, but I've read in AVX that he wasn't able to kill Jean.
No, he's right about that, because he mentions that he wasn't able to kill Jean, and that's one thing he regrets. He could have stopped Jean before she went crazy and everything like that.
Right.
But the problem with Wolverine is he reverts to status quo too quickly. He's gotten, over the years, a little bit of development. But every time he starts to gain any more real character, it always turns back into, all right, now we're going to launch a new Wolverine book, and in this one, he's going to spend 12 issues tramping through the swamp trying to find out who could have possibly done this latest experiment to him. Dude, I'm not even joking. He got a little development from AVX. I picked up the Wolverine book, and he went to the swamp, found a new doctor who had did more experiments on him, and then he got into a big knockdown, drag-out fight with the guy. And I'm like, that's woohoo!
Well,
There's Wolverine
I
development.
mean, even in Original Sin, he doesn't have much development, which is disappointing. Like he's just kind of there, and stuff
He's always
happens.
there as I'm Wolverine, bub. Time to kill someone.
Well, that's why. I mean, because like, how would I do a Marvel Explained video on Wolverine? Well, Wolverine first appeared in an issue with the Incredible Hulk, and then some stuff happened, and then he.
For
got
the record, I have
calls.
that issue.
It's a good issue.
Yeah.
It's like this some stuff happened, and then like Weapon X, and then X-Men, and then a new Avengers and X-Men, and then like current day. Thanks for watching. Peace. I mean, how do you? I mean, it's not going to be. It's. I really have no desire to discuss now.
I do. Come on over to my channel if you don't want to. If you want to ignore the fact that it's not on Marvel Explained.
Hugh Jackman is a good Wolverine for all intents and purposes. The way that he's done and the way that his character is portrayed, Hugh Jackman is a good Wolverine. But the problem is, I'm tired of Wolverine.
Yeah.
I'm just burned.
Well,
Bring
that's
me
another
somebody
thing
new.
too.
Give me
Most
somebody
comic fans are tired of Wolverine because he's in everything.
He's in 14,000 comics.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in so many different comic books.
Even if you are a super fan of Wolverine, you're like, oh God, just go away.
I mean,
Well, because you want to continue being a fan of Wolverine.
Yeah.
You don't want to see him overdone because then you'll get bored.
Yeah, like oh crap.
Anybody's going to get bored if they see him featured everywhere.
Well,
Right.
like Tony Stark's whole rationale, or I'm sorry, either Captain America or Tony Stark, I don't remember who, but their whole rationale for adding him to the New Avengers was like when they had like the whole Bucky Barnes thing. Like, well, you're willing to do stuff that we're not willing to do.
Right.
Okay, so he's willing to kill people. Like that's the only reason you're adding him to the New Avengers roster. It's because he's willing to kill people. Okay, I mean that's
it.
You know, that's it. I was like, this.
That's all you need is Wolverine.
I mean,
that's what he
at
does.
least- Yeah, like
Well-
Luke Cage has underground contacts. You know, of course, you got Captain America. Miss Marvel wants to come back into the fold. Carol Danvers. I mean, you know, okay. The only other person that's less useful or as useless as Wolverine in terms of that score is Jessica Drew, Spider Girl.
Don't be bashing on my Jessica Drew.
She serves, dude. She's so.
She is the most incredible background character ever.
Let me tell you.
Everyone knows what she is, and they leave her to that.
Let me tell you something. You know,
All right,
you know what
Jessica,
the
your
new
eye can't
Avengers-
stand behind us.
You know what the new Avengers lineup should have been when they brought that back? The new Avengers lineup should have been Captain America, Iron Man, the Sentry, and damn, who was the other person I was going to say?
I don't know.
Miss Marvel.
Man, how would you guys like the Sentry in the Marvel movies?
Oh,
I
God,
want to see more
I
of
would
it.
love to see the Sentry. I would love to see the Sentry in Marvel movies.
Because he's like, from what I've seen so far, he's like the more mature, like, Superman of the Marvel universe. Like, he's so, like, buff and super strong.
Well, he's also got a screwed up, convoluted backstory too.
Yeah, he's like schizophrenic, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
To a degree, like it's all right. All right, what we're gonna do, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this podcast, is we're gonna do a Marvel Explained video within this podcast.
I thought we were doing it on the Inhumans.
Well, we'll do that too, but nonetheless. Okay, so
I'm running out of time. I was about to bump you over. Hey, let's
Yeah,
go.
I've got like half an hour left, to be
Yeah, I mean,
honest.
this
then
will
I gotta
take-
go.
You
this
got to
will take,
explain
like, 5
stuff, Rob.
minutes.
Okay, so I did
This is
last
gonna be
week, so it's your
fast.
week anyway. All right.
Okay,
All right, so
so-
I'm going to play some Zelda. Let's go, Rob.
So Robert Reynolds, the Sentry, he's a super convoluted character. He has an alter ego called the Void, which is the opposite side of the Sentry. The Sentry is your normal, everyday, Robert Reynolds, good guy, superhero kind of person. The Void is when he just kind of loses his mind and kind of goes crazy, and he thinks the Void is a whole nother like alter ego, like a whole nother like individual and person. All right. He appeared sporadically in the Marvel Comics. He comes back in the New Avengers in issue number 7 called The Sentry. It's like a 4-part series. And over the course of the 4-part series, what we see is that in the previous events of Breakout, he used his powers to tear Carnage in half and save Daredevil and a bunch of other people in the Rikers Island prison when all the prisoners were escaping. All right. From there, he comes back The New Avengers find him, and he says they have to leave because the Void is coming. All right. Over the course of the next 3 or 4 comics, what we learn is that his mind was screwed up by Mastermind and some general. I don't remember who it was. And his mind is kind of slowly unlocked by Emma Frost. And ultimately, like he's just like this character that's built up to be this ridiculously overpowered character. The most impressive display of his abilities is that he hid the world from knowing that he was the Sentry. Like he wiped the world's mind from knowing who the Sentry was. And he took the entire concept of the Sentry and he put it in the mind of some comic book artist, and that artist drew out comics of the Sentry. Like that was how he kept himself alive, more or less, in the Marvel Universe as a whole. But he's got the power of like 1 million exploding suns. He was able to fight the Incredible Hulk to a standstill, to the point that they both reverted down to their human forms, Bruce Banner and Robert Reynolds. Like his molecules move, I think, like an instant ahead of the current timeline, which is why he's so powerful. He drank some kind of serum or something like that. Like he's a super powerful character. Like his powers go way beyond anything that Superman's probably capable of. But he's astronomically powerful. But
Superman versus Sentry, go.
Sentry, man. Sentry, hands down, dude. But,
Well, if Hulk is able to beat Superman,
no, we're talking about World War Hulk,
We're not gonna go back into that. We're not gonna.
we're not gonna go back.
I have a whole video about that one.
So get this. I just had an idea. So there was the end credit scene, right, where we saw, Quicksilver
Bouncing
and
The crappy actor.
oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I just forgot her name.
Okay, I'm sorry, Dave. Stop for a second. No, sir.
Yes.
No, sir.
Oh, he was good in Kick-Ass. Then we saw him in Godzilla, and now he's nothing.
No, sir.
Yes.
He is not a bad actor.
He is a bad. Did you see him in Godzilla?
I just think that wasn't the right part for
Excuse
him.
me, Sergeant. Do you have anybody that's actually disarmed a bomb? No? All right, I'll go. Ah!
Okay. Let's let Dave get back to his topic. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just had to.
Imagine if that end credit scene was featured in another movie, but the camera pans over and we see a bunch of other like prison units that are keeping a ton of the other Inhumans that they're experimenting on.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sentry's one of them, and Adam Warlock's one of them, and
You're gonna make
there's
Adam
just a
Warlock
ton of other like
Nah.
super powerful characters.
They couldn't
You
make
just
Adam
made Rob
Warlock an
mad.
Inhuman. I'd be so upset. So upset.
All right, to keep us on time, I actually think that's a great idea, but they can't do Adam Warlock and Sentry. They'd have to come up with other things, you know? But if they were to reveal there's more Inhumans already, that would be cool. Like, what if taking your idea, what if they panned over and it was Black Bolt and Medusa? And we build the Inhumans movie out of that?
I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
I'd be psyched with that. But
All right, so wait, to keep Rob on track, Rob, Inhumans, go.
all right, if you guys want to see a video about the Inhumans, it's already uploaded onto my channel. So
Oh, that's cheating! It was a 2-minute synopsis.
okay. So the Inhumans originally they first appeared in Fantastic Four. They first encountered them as it's kind of a confusing circumstance. Medusa is the wife of Black Bolt. She's the queen of the Inhumans. She went missing for a while. She was rediscovered, and there was kind of this great big scenario where the Inhumans were looking for her, so on and so forth. Blah 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 blah. The origins of the Inhumans start with the Kree, and the Kree are like this spacefaring race that are a result of the Skrulls and so on and so forth. But the Kree had come to the planet Earth because the planet Earth is like this strategic location between the Kree and the Skrull, which is the whole point of the Kree-Skrull War. And what ends up happening is they see the Celestials kind of like seeding the planet Earth with life and with the mutant gene, and they decide to do some experimenting on their own. So what they do is they create this race called the Inhumans. At the time when normal humans were cavemen, the Inhumans were super advanced in terms of technology. But what the Inhumans undergo is a process called Terrigenesis, where they expose themselves to the Terrigen Mist. And it's literally like them walking into this great big huge like tank-looking thing, and the doors close, and they're exposed to the Terrigen Mist. Now, what the Terrigen Mists do is they activate a latent gene. So Benny was right when he talked about them being mutants. Like with mutants, they approach their adolescence, puberty, then their mutant gene activates for the most part, and then they kind of go crazy and so on and so forth. With the Inhumans, it's pretty much the exact same way. When they're exposed to the Terrigen Mist, this latent gene activates. Now, what happens when it activates depends. Sometimes they look exactly the same, and nothing really happens. Sometimes, like Black Bolt, they have powers that are so extreme, like its quasi-sonic scream, which can destroy planets. So it really depends on what happens with the individual, what really goes on there. But the Inhumans are really kind of an obscure group. I mean, they lived on the blue part of the moon for a while, which has oxygen. They really kind of live in isolation, and the whole basis for Black Bolt is to keep them isolated from everybody else. They don't really want to have anything to do, for the most part, with what goes on in the world. They want to be left alone. But they are basically, like Benny said, they're basically kind of like mutants. They are really kind of a less trumped up version of the X-Men. They're not nearly as popular for the most part. They're not nearly as expansive. Well, I guess maybe they are now after the events of Inhumanity, but nonetheless, they're really kind of like a scaled down version of the X-Men. But it'd be a great way for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to bring the Inhumans into the fold without actually tapping into the whole element of mutant, which I think that'd be pretty cool. I'd love to see some Inhumans.
It's just a good replacement. But there you go. There's that one real quick.
There's that one. So,
David looked like he was going to say something.
No.
oh,
I'm good.
All right.
Just wait.
And to
I'm
keep us
just
on
still
time,
thinking. I'm thinking about what I said and how Marvel would introduce that scene if they were going to do the leaked script for Avengers 2.
well, it could be easy. They break in there, and Inhumans have already been freed, or they've been moved. Mm-hmm. So then at the end of the whole thing, we pan back to a scene at the beginning of the movie, and they pan over to the left, and you're like, oh my god, there was more!
Yeah, I mean, you show Black Bolt, like you just hear some guy, I don't know, some guy screams or whispers or something, and then just the entire building blows apart. I don't know. That'd be kind of weird, but.
Okay, and now to keep us on track here, because we're running low on time, going to go through the comments like we did last week. Okay, so the overall comments you guys have been saying is that a lot of people are saying that they're sorry if I took it as a dick. We didn't take it as being a dick. Everyone commenting about me talking over people. That's what we were saying. We actually want that feedback so we can fix this. So don't hate anybody. You're all great. Thank you so much for watching this.
Mm-hmm. We love
Yeah,
you.
that guy actually commented on my video and he said the same thing, and I was like, I really like.
Damn it, Dave.
I don't really think he was being a dick.
Right.
I just think he gets excited.
I do.
He really does get that excited.
I'm like a 6-year-old kid who just discovered candy for the first time.
It's
Coffee, ice cream,
exciting,
coffee, ice cream.
Yeah, dude, it's like talking about awesome stuff with Marvel comic or like comic books in general. Like it's exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of comments here about everyone loving the podcast. Like a lot of comments. Everyone
Yeah.
loving it.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you guys, but I want to say thank you guys for enjoying this as much as you guys are.
Yeah.
This is really fun to do, and I'm really excited that Rob invited me over here to do this with him, and we love doing it. I know Dave does.
Yeah, like we love making this as much as you guys love watching it. So
Yeah. And we really do appreciate the comments, because when you see people liking what you're creating, that just gives you a good, warm feeling inside. And it forces Dave to jump out of half the podcast.
damn it,
Yeah,
Dave.
and I want you
Stop,
guys to
Dave.
know, like, your followers that came over to my channel, like, I haven't gotten any dislikes.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a ton of constructive comments,
Yeah.
on how to change things up or what to do. Obviously, some of them are out of my scope at this point, but, I think that guy, Cameron,
Yeah, Cameron. Yeah.
like, he asked me to do, like, an entire history on comics from, like, the year 2000 forward, and I'm like,
Cameron makes some big requests sometimes.
I don't know if he was joking around or...
Like, can you
Like
explain
what,
everything
but-
that's ever happened in Marvel Comics ever? Like,
Yeah,
my
right?
God, man. But Cameron's a really cool guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
You got to introduce me. Cameron, if you're watching this, I want to meet you. Yo, bro.
He's the one that introduced me to your channel, to your whole YouTube thing.
Then what the heck?
I'll make sure that you guys meet up. All right, so do we have any more comments?
Oh yeah, I'm going through. I was getting him a moment to actually go through. I don't want to cut him off while he's saying thank you. Carl John Baptiste apparently really likes me, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you. And he wants to see Beetle versus Iron Man. And we actually discussed we were going to do that today. I know a lot about Jamie Reyes, but apparently Rob doesn't know enough about Iron Man to compete with that. So.
Oh, I know enough about Iron Man. I don't know anything about Blue Beetle, but I'll do some poking
Yeah, I
around on Blue Beetle.
don't know anything about Blue Beetle either. I've been wanting to pick up some of the newer books that have come out
Did you
featuring
see
him.
that?
But
Did you see that, Dave? Like, Benny just gave us like this look of disgust. He was just like,
You what?
"You don't know who Blue Beetle? My God."
In
He's
your defense,
really good
Blue Beetle
friends with
only-
Booster Gold, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, Blue Beetle has always been kind of shuffled off to the background, and the newer Blue Beetle has only really showed up in Young Justice. Then he got fan favorite from that, and they made a comic out of him. So the newer Blue Beetle, the one that he's probably referring to, I don't think he's referring to the old one. The new Blue Beetle is somebody that you probably don't know.
Who in the hell is Booster Gold? What kind of a name? This sounds like a name for.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Yeah.
Booster Gold, quick comic story and complete story for it. Know your universe. Booster Gold is from the future, and he has a base number of powers, but from like machinery and stuff like that. But he figured out that in the future, there's too many superheroes. He can't compete. He can't be famous, and he wants to be a famous superhero. So he goes back in time to the 21st century to try and be the best superhero, so he can go down in the history books.
Guy sounds like a character from Power
Yeah,
Rangers.
he was a big part. How I know about him is I played a lot of DC Universe Online.
Yeah,
And he's actually the announcer most of the time in that game. Like he kind of like
Gives you the
summarizes the situation and does like little like get to know your heroes features in that.
We should play that later.
in-
I'm a rage tank. Anyway. Okay, we keep going down here because we are running low. Cedric House wishes there was a comic book store around him. One thing that I can recommend, because I used to do this back when I was in North Carolina and I didn't know there was one 20 minutes away. They weren't in the listings, so I only found them by random chance. Midtown Comics. You can have them ship you comics every week. That's what I used to do.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always like I do a lot of my comic shopping online. I do like to support my local comic book stores.
I do the
I've
same
got
thing.
3 around me now. It's gotten pretty popular around here, but
I've got 2.
you know,
One down.
there's always cheap graphic novels on Amazon, where I do some of the shopping because if I did all my shopping at a comic book store, I would be broke. Like
They are expensive. Like they charge top dollar, man.
yeah, well they charge retail prices, which is understandable,
Yeah.
but
There, Zach Boss says he loved The Man of Steel, and he wants to know if you're going to hit Gambit anytime soon, Rob.
Ooh, Gambit. After Civil War, we'll probably end up doing him, Gambit, and Emma Frost, and a few other people.
A few people commented that Daredevil wasn't Ben's fault. If you watch the uncut version, apparently it's a lot better, and I have not seen the uncut version.
I haven't.
yeah, I really do think that Ben Affleck really couldn't pull off the writing in that movie in the direction. Like he just could not compensate for that.
Yeah.
He really was a good actor. I saw him being, trying to pull off the dark and broody thing during the scene in the bar, like at the very beginning of the movie where he goes to kill that guy after the court case.
Yeah.
And that was a really good scene, and what he had to say was pretty genuine.
I'll have to
to
check that out.
Daredevil,
I'm pretty
as
sure I
far
can
as-
find it for like $1. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
You can
and
get
now-
you
I'm
can get the Blu-ray on Amazon for like $5.
Oh, okay, I'll
It's
grab
not
that.
expensive.
I'm going to end this one with Andre. If I said it wrong, I'm really sorry. Beverly stating that Terrence Howard was offered peanuts to do Iron Man 2, and they really wanted Don to play the role in the first place. That's why there was the switch up from Don Cheadle to Terrence Howard. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, Gregory Clausen, we love your enthusiasm, but there's a lot
love
here,
him.
and I'm not going through all of that right
I
now.
love him. Greg.
He is on
Gregory,
every
man.
video, every channel. We love
need
you,
to,
man.
We need to bring him on the podcast. We need to bring him on here. Like Gregory is like he's so awesome. I love that guy.
At the very bottom, I'm going to say he wants to know if we can parental lock his computer from eBay when he listens to this. And then he mentions that he found the Deadpool 27 Taco Time variant. So, for the record, I also have that, Gregory.
All right, yeah, we definitely need to bring him on here. But all right, guys, well, we're going to go ahead and bring this podcast to an end. Like I know we've been going on for a while, but
Well,
yeah,
I do want to say one thing. Everyone leave your comments. I do go through this on the most popular and the newest ones. We obviously can't hit them all every podcast, but we do appreciate every comment you guys leave. We do read them. We do pretty much all of us rotate through looking at these. So thank you so much for all of your comments.
yeah, definitely. So,
So last week, what we did also is we went over what we were doing on our channel. Benny, what are you putting up? You're on vacation now,
I'm
right?
taking a break.
yeah,
and,
the
and
next-
Rob,
for the
you're
next, like,
going
2.5
to take a little
weeks.
bit of a break to deal with your Steam sale stuff.
yeah, on today on Thursday, there will be some videos coming out. There'll be a couple videos coming out for the tie-ins for Civil War between issues number 2 and 3, and then I'm going to take a break for a week, and I'm going to take a break the week of July 3rd, rather, and play like Steam games and play video games and so on and so forth, and then come back.
We timed
Yeah.
that really well.
If you guys, in the meantime, convenience for you guys is that I will be covering for you, hopefully with my weekly video that's going to be out probably by the time this podcast gets posted.
we didn't plan this.
If it isn't, you guys should probably kick me in the pants because
Damn it!
that would mean that something probably catastrophic has happened.
Yeah.
Because I should finish that up tomorrow, as long as the sun's shining and it's not, storming violently outside. And
Well,
my internet's
my vacation
good.
Is actually because I'm going to VidCon next week. So if you're in the California area in Anaheim, I'll be in that area for like the most of the next week. And what I plan on doing is I'm not putting out any big story videos, but I'll probably be shoehorning some Know Your Universe videos out there. Like I'm doing one of the Galactic Council and a few things like that. But for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to go to VidCon, then I'm going to relax from VidCon, and then I'll get back into the swing of things.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and bring this podcast to an end, and yeah, so.
And next week, I'll be from Anaheim, California on my laptop recording this.
Awesome. All right, we'll catch you guys later.
All right, have a good one.
Peace.
See ya.
Bye-bye!